Minneapolis Police, or what's left of the Minneapolis Police Department, has an official message for the residents of their fair city. Do what the criminals want. Hey, everybody, I'm Steve Green with Bill Whittle and Scott Ott, and this is Right Angle, brought to you by the members of BillWhittle.com. Gentlemen, an email, and I tried to find this whole thing. I couldn't, but Alpha News, and I think the Minneapolis Star-Tribune had this report. Minneapolis police are telling residents to obey criminals and be prepared, their exact words, to be robbed. Yeah, I'm prepared to be robbed. I got a concealed carry permit. How about that preparation? It actually said, be prepared to give up your cell phone and purse or wallet, police said in their email, copy of which was obtained by Alpha News. The email said citizens should listen to criminals. I love the left. And do as they say. Exact quote. Scott, it's probably good advice to, if you're being held at gunpoint, to give the criminal whatever you want, or whatever they want. Your iPhone or your Android phone is not worth your life. Neither are the contents of your boss's cash register. But I don't recall ever seeing an official announcement like this. Do you?
Yeah, and that's what makes me wonder whether this is something that's been brought to our attention by some motivated actor who has got an axe to grind or a position on this, who wants to say, hey, see what happens when you pull back the police. And I'm not saying that position isn't worth grinding or axe isn't worth. Well, in any case, I think, in general, police tend to recommend to people that just do what the armed assailant wants you to do. And, unless you are a concealed carry person and you've already got the drop on him, you're probably wise to hand over your money and any other valuables he requests. Eventually, they'll catch up to him and you might get your stuff back. But if you wind up at the wrong end of his lead projectile, then you don't get another chance to get another iPhone. So again, I don't know why we're hearing this now, if it's a perennial message that the police basically incorporate in public messages where they tell people to do that, or frankly, if the police are trying to say, you see how bad it's gotten? We can't be there because of staffing cutbacks and because people want to leave the force because of the lack of support from our local government officials. So this is part of their negotiating tactic, basically telling people, hey, you're on your own, brother.
Yeah, and the thing is, criminals have noticed that people are on their own. I've got some numbers here for you, Bill. According to Minneapolis Police Department crime data, there have been 2,170 stolen vehicles so far this year, a 46% increase over the same time period last year. There have been 886 robberies. That's a jump of more than a third from the same time in 2019. In the third precinct on the city's south side, robberies have more than doubled this year compared again to the same time last year. Car thefts are up 2/3. And then, again, this is in the third precinct. Car thefts and robberies have jumped almost 50%. And residents in Minneapolis are screaming, don't defund the police. But as you probably know by now, the city council, in violation of the city charter, voted to do just that last month. Do you have anything to say to the people of Minneapolis who, no matter what they voted for, certainly don't deserve this?
Well, I disagree. I think they do deserve this.
Yeah,
that city council didn't elect itself. Not yet, anyway. You want your progressive virtue signaling by electing people like this who talk about things like this, and then they do it. And now, you made these cheese curds. Now you got to eat them. And by the way, Steve, these numbers that you're talking about are transitory numbers, and the reason they're transitory is because the criminals are still learning. They're still pushing the boundaries of where that law used to be. If you were to just turn off all the laws tomorrow, just declare there is no law tomorrow, you'd see a spike in crime, but you wouldn't see the full measure of it for a while until people realize you actually can get away with this. So it's going to get a lot worse, definitely. And I don't mean to sound callous about it, but I do mean to sound like you need to accept responsibility for your politics. This is why we're conservatives and why law and order people are so constantly vilified. You're racist, you're this, you're that, you're the authoritarian Nazis, blah, blah. No, we just prefer to not, be assaulted on the streets and have our homes broken into. And if you want to virtue signal to the point where you're going to elect a city council like this, then you have no one to blame, but yourself. I don't know what's going to be happening with home invasions, but I suspect that's going to be the next big bonanza is once people realize that if they make a phone call to the police, there are no police coming, then that's going to see a spike. And that to me, obviously, and I think to most people is the most, is the crime they're most worried about is a home invasion, burglar. You're not awake. Your family's at risk. All of that stuff. I rent a house in a nice neighborhood here in Los Angeles because no one can afford to buy a house in Los Angeles. Membership continued for 465 years. I might be able to put the down payment down, but in all of our neighborhood, every single one of the houses has one of those security signs. This house protected by so on and so forth and so. Mine's just the radioactive logo. My house is protected by tactical nuclear weapons. But with that said, we're going to see, and I think this has something to do with another topic that's maybe coming up this week, or one we discussed in our backstage show. Anyway, what you're going to see happen now is you're going to start seeing people who can afford it starting to pay for private security. And the gap between the people who have money and the people who don't is going to increase as a result of these progressive politicians. And their desire to defund the police. An effective police force protects everybody. If you defund the public police force, then the only people that will have security protection will be people who can afford to hire their own private security, like the people in Beverly Hills and Bel Air and so on. And this is the world you've created. This is the world you voted for. You might want to think about changing the way you vote come November. And if you don't, then really seriously, you have no one to blame for this, Minneapolis residents or any other residents, inner city, Seattle residents, Portland, all of you. This is the natural outcome of the policies that you voted for in order to show everybody how virtuous you are. And now, unfortunately, those chickens have come home to roost, and now you have to live with the result of your politics. So either get used to it or change the way you vote.
Yeah, I'd like to see some huge changes in voter habits. And for cities that have elected nothing but Democrats for 40, 50, 60 years or longer, what have you got to lose by taking a chance just once this November on something different? Stop hitting your head against that wall. It feels so good when you stop, I promise. I'd like to finish with a couple of things. There's a couple of more stories. One or two of these are out of Portland instead of Minneapolis, but much the same setup. Portland police record highest number of death investigations in a single month in more than 3 decades. The murder rate is skyrocketing in 36 out of America's 50 major cities. And Austin, Texas is actually seeing the biggest leap, believe it or not. A BLM protester was stabbed in Portland as another anti-police protester shouts, "Call the police." Not making this up. Actual headline. And a man, this one's a month old, but it's worth repeating. A man calling police to report that his defund police sign was stolen from his front yard. A sheriff's deputy found and returned the sign. You're welcome.
God bless America.
In almost 40 years, actually 41 years now, following the news. I started when I was 10 or 11 years old. I've never seen an official statement like the one the Minneapolis police release telling people to, I really use common sense and don't give up your life for your iPhone. But I've never seen them have to say it like this in this way. And I've got a theory. Again, this is only a theory. I saw a story a week or two ago that armed citizens in Minneapolis are forming citizens patrols to keep the streets safe as the police have been pulled back. And by the way, they're not pulling back from the whiter suburbs. They're pulling back from the more Black and Latino urban areas. And so, as Bill was saying, we're going to have concierge police protection, just like Obamacare brought concierge medicine to those who could afford it. Nothing has gone wrong yet with any of these citizens patrols or whatever they're calling themselves. But the thing to remember is a couple of things. One, the Bill of Rights is there to protect the accused from the government. There are processes, due processes that the government has to go through before it can put you in jail or anything else. The police are there in part to protect the accused from the mob, from the armed citizens who have no other recourse. The punishment for being a robber is maybe a couple of years in jail. Through official channels, through unofficial channels, the mob might just kill you if they think they have no other choice. And that, I think, is the root of the Minneapolis police warning. They want these citizens patrols to stand down before something awful happens. Well, it's really just a matter of time. But that's Minneapolis for you these days. And that is your right angle on that, brought by the members of BillWhittle.com. I want you to remember that content like this needs members like you. We need your support. So please click over to BillWhittle.com and join us. We'd love to have you on board. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.